Good morning, Cajun Country. My name's Madison, and you are tuned into the newest and coolest radio station in New Orleans, 89.6 The Mix, playing all of your favorite songs as the day moves along. First, with some international news to start off your morning, Austrian Chancellor Sebastian Kurz has told CNN his country is not only looking to combat terrorists, but also the ideology behind them after the terror attack in Vienna Monday night. At least 4 people were killed in cold blood, and a further 22 were injured, including a police officer who is now in stable condition after surgery, in an attack that took place in 6 locations across the Austrian capital. In a sit-down interview with CNN's Fred Pleitgen in Vienna, Kurz said there was one gunman and probably he was alone. Authorities had previously feared that the perpetrator didn't act alone and that another gunman might be at large. Next, for some international news coming to you from London, Sunday night's news that Prince William tested positive for coronavirus earlier this year has raised questions as to why the British public was not told that the second in line to the throne has been ill during the pandemic. According to a report in the Sun newspaper, which the palace has not denied, William told an observer at a function that he chose not to go public with his diagnosis because, quote, there were more important things going on, and I didn't want to worry anyone. The Sun noted in its report that the prince took a 7-day break from calls and video messages from April 9th to April 16th. During that period, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was off work receiving his own bout of COVID-19, which was so serious he had to be treated in intensive care, leaving his foreign secretary to run the country. Several other members of Johnson's government and his advisors had also tested positive for the virus. Now let's visit LSU for news on the recent hazing incidents. A fraternity member at Louisiana State University was charged with 13 counts of hazing after police said he forced new members into drinking so much alcohol that their health was endangered, and in one case, leaving the person hospitalized and on life support. Phi Kappa Psi member Terry Pat Reynolds II, 21, was charged with 1 count of felony hazing, 12 counts of misdemeanor hazing, and 1 count of failure to seek assistance, according to an affidavit for the arrest warrant filed by LSU police. The hazing investigation began after police responded to Baton Rouge General Medical Center on October 19th. According to the arrest warrant, an LSU student who was a new fraternity member was dropped off at the hospital by a group of males later identified as Phi Kappa Psi members. The victim had severe alcohol poisoning, was unresponsive, and had to be placed on life support, the police affidavit stated. To begin the international segment of today's broadcast, let's take a look at the newest stories from Texas and how they are managing the election during a global pandemic. El Paso became one of the nation's hotspots for the virus after seeing a dramatic rise in COVID-19 cases over the past few weeks. Tents were built outside a hospital to treat the influx of patients, healthcare workers traveled from across the state to help, and the medical examiner has received additional morgues. Despite the outbreak, El Paso is seeing a higher voter turnout than in 2016, and some consider the city key to end the unchallenged Republican dominance in America's second largest state. A total of 222,149 people, or 45% of voters in El Paso County, cast their ballots during early voting, according to the El Paso County Elections Department. On Tuesday, people stood in line inside a shopping mall, schools emptied by the pandemic, and outside a downtown fire station. Drivers also waited in the parking lot of a shopping mall in West El Paso, where the county set up a curbside polling place. Next, for some devastating news from Wisconsin, Kyle Rittenhouse, the teen accused of fatally shooting 2 people and seriously injuring a third during protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin, attended a virtual hearing Monday, where his bond was set at $2 million. Kenosha County Commissioner Lauren Keating said the bond was set at such a high amount because the court considered Rittenhouse a flight risk, given that he could face a, quote, mandatory life sentence or at least significant amounts of time, likely decades of time period of incarceration, if convicted. Lastly, let's end on a high note with some news about the Space Western series that took the nation by storm. If Baby Yoda, aka the child, was the big surprise when The Mandalorian came its debut a year ago, the second season arrives amid sky-high expectations that seemed difficult to fulfill. Yet, the Disney Plus series managed to deliver on them with its premiere, which featured numerous creatures and aliens looping back into the mythology of the original trilogy, and yes, another flourish designed to set the internet ablaze. One of the most impressive aspects of the first season involved the show's ability to tap into Star Wars nostalgia while charting its own creative path. The second season opener particularly reflected the franchise's Western roots, with the Mandalorian and his young sidekick coming to a remote town on a familiar planet, where he's forced into an alliance with the local marshal, guest Timothy Olyphant, to face a very big threat. Once again, this is Madison from 89.6 The Mix, signing out for the weekend. Have a great rest of your day.